Namaste and welcome back to Ramakathasudha. The army of righteousness has reached the end of the land. Before them lies the final barrier to Lanka, a vast, seemingly insurmountable expanse of water, the great ocean. Sri Rama, the embodiment of Dharma, first approaches this obstacle with humility. For 3 days, he performs a penance, praying to Samudra, the presiding deity of the ocean, to grant him a path. But the ocean remains silent, arrogant in its own vastness. What follows is a dramatic confrontation between the Lord and the ocean god. But as with every event in the Adhyatma Ramayana, this is not just a story about crossing water. It is a powerful allegory for the spiritual seekers' struggle to cross the turbulent ocean of their own mind. Let us decode this beautiful metaphor. In Vedantic thought, the mind is often compared to an ocean. Why? Because, like the ocean, the mind is vast and deep. We are only aware of the surface waves, our conscious thoughts, but beneath lies a massive dark depth of subconscious impressions, hidden desires, and latent karmas. Like the ocean, the mind is restless and ever changing, never still for a moment. Its waves of thought crash constantly against the shore of our awareness. And like the ocean, in this story, the untrained mind is often arrogant. It refuses to yield. It believes its own turmoil is its nature. When the spiritual seeker, represented by Rama, first decides to quiet the mind through gentle practice and prayer, the mind often doesn't respond. It remains agitated, absorbed in its own dramas. Samudra's initial silence is the silence of our own stubborn, chaotic mind, refusing to cooperate with our higher will. When 3 days of prayer yield no result, Rama's patience gives way to a divine righteous anger. He picks up his mighty bow and aims a fiery arrow, the Brahmastra, at the ocean, threatening to dry it up completely. This is a crucial moment in the allegory. Rama taking up his bow represents the seeker moving from gentle request to intense, focused effort. The act of aiming the arrow is a perfect symbol for the yogic practice of dharana or one-pointed concentration. It is the seeker finally saying enough to the mind's endless chatter. The fiery arrow is the power of a concentrated will, a focused intention that threatens to dry up the mind's distracting waves and worldly attachments. It is the moment we gather all our mental energy and focus it like a laser on our spiritual goal. This intense focus is often the only thing that can shake the mind out of its deep-seated complacency. Terrified by this show of ultimate power, Samudra, the ocean god, finally appears. He comes in a humble human form, falling at Rama's feet, apologizing for his arrogance. He says, "My lord, my nature is to be deep and difficult to cross. I cannot change my nature, but I will show you a way." This is the moment of breakthrough. It symbolizes the point where the mind, faced with unshakable will of the seeker, finally surrenders its ego. It stops being an obstacle and agrees to become a collaborator. And notice what Samudra does next. He brings forth precious gifts and jewels from his depth. He also reveals the secret of Nala and Nila, the two Vanaras who have the power to make stones float. This is a beautiful metaphor. When the mind is finally stilled and its ego surrenders, it ceases to be a source of problems and instead reveals its own hidden treasures: clarity, peace, deep-seated wisdom, and creative solutions that were hidden in its depth all along. The disciplined mind becomes our greatest ally, not our greatest enemy. The story of Rama and the ocean is our own story. Our mind is the biggest obstacle on our spiritual path. We can try to reason with it, but often it requires the fierce, loving, one-pointed determination of Rama's arrow to make it listen. But the goal is not to destroy the mind, not to dry it up completely. The goal is to tame it, to make it surrender its ego, so that it can serve its true master, the Atman, the self. Once tamed, the very mind that was an impassable ocean becomes the pathway to our goal. With the mind now as an ally, the path is clear. The grand project of building the bridge to Lanka can now begin. Thank you for joining me for this deep dive into the ocean of the mind. If this allegory has given you a new way to look at your own inner ocean, please like, share, and subscribe to Ramakathasudha. Jai Shri Ram, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu.